Hello, this is the Ask Jasmine Money podcast. I'm Jasmine Birtles, founder of MoneyMagpie.com, and I'm joined by the political journalist Paul Osborne. This is a monthly podcast in which we look ahead to see how you can make and save money each month and have a smile as you do it. It's on the Money Magpie newsletter, which you can sign up to on our website. And you can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jasmine. Paul is also on Twitter and he's at Paul Osborne. It's February, which, I don't know, it's always felt to me like a bit of a nothing kind of a month. Apart from the dreaded Valentine's Day, there's just nothing much to make it stand out, really. It's not spring, it's not quite winter. I don't know, there's just not a lot going on. Don't you think, Paul?
It's this kind of... How would you describe it? It's kind of a hinterland, isn't it?
Yeah.
As if January's not bad enough. You know, Christmas is just gone. January arrives, bills, much longer wait to get paid, more bills. And then February, it's still cold. There's nothing in particular to look forward to. Christmas is a long fading memory. Easter is at least 2 more months away. The summer is so far away you can't even see it. And although February has the advantage over January that you have normally been paid by this point, there isn't really that much that you would want to bother spending any money on, except, of course, for the approaching doom of Valentine's Day.
It really is an approaching doom, isn't it? It seems to me, whether you're single or in a relationship, I loathe that term, in a relationship, it's a minefield, basically. Because if you're single and thinking, won't somebody send me a Valentine's card? And of course they don't. But then if you're with somebody, there's that, you haven't given me something nice. And the number of relationships that falter after Valentine's Day is massive as well.
So we had the surge in people going to divorce lawyers after Christmas. And what you're now saying is that basically every opportunity for people in a relationship to express their love or affection for each other is in fact a minefield that leads directly to the divorce lawyer. Well,
potentially, yes, absolutely, because have you given a present? Have you not? Was it a rose? Was it the sort of thing that you were hoping for? Did you take them to the right restaurant and spend offensive amounts of money on them for the evening? And by the way, I am told by someone who runs restaurants that on Valentine's Day you get the mistresses at lunchtime and the wives in the evening, which is, again, slightly depressing.
Presumably they don't take them to the same restaurant. Presumably it's not, there's some guy comes in for lunch with his mistress and then says to the maitre d' on the way out, see you tonight.
Well, pretty much, actually, yes.
Keep it under your hat. So see you tonight.
I think they do, and I think they get some extra cash because of it.
I think the moral will be to maybe even do them on different days.
Well, ideally, I think so.
Maybe not have a mistress would be
there's a crazy idea.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't that be good? But yeah, it's true actually that Valentine's Day, rather like Guy Fawkes night, has become a kind of a week, particularly if it falls on a weekday, which isn't that great for the restaurants and whatever. So I think the hotels, the restaurants, whatever, they do try and spread it out because, let's face it, it is part of the golden triangle. You've got Christmas, New Year's sales, Valentine's Day. Those are the times when retailers, hotels, restaurants, whatever, have a hope of making some cash. Just because commercialism says you should buy this and get into debt just to buy this big bunch of flowers, it's probably going to not last more than a week anyway. Why should you do that? Let's have a bit more reality and something that's more real. I agree. Why not have Valentine's Day in, I don't know, September? Have yours, because as you know, I like to do a Christmas dinner in July, just because it's different, and I don't like doing things just because commercialism dictates that I should do things at a certain time. So in fact, last year on Valentine's Day, which was then on a Saturday, I had a Halloween party. It was really good. Another thing I think about all the saints' days, actually, I mean, Saint Valentine, who on earth was he? How come he becomes Cupid? You know, you think of St. George's Day, which we don't bother with ever, it seems to me, which is a shame. But, you know, you look at who on earth St. George was supposed to be, and okay, he's patron saint of ours and a few others. He seems to be patron saint of some soldiers and also I think people with venereal diseases as well. You know, and
it's a mixed bag, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite a mixed bag, exactly. And I was thinking, we need some new saints. We need some modern saints. You know, like I was thinking Saint Diana, the patron saint of disappointed women, you know, that kind of thing.
I'm still slightly concerned at the idea that people with venereal diseases need a patron saint, when what they principally probably need is good medical care.
Goodness knows why they have their own. I'm sure there's a patron saint of lepers. There'll be a patron saint of, I don't know, pregnant women, all sorts.
Patron saint of people with a bit of a sore throat.
Yes, quite possibly that. Patron saint of people who've stubbed their toe. Yeah, very helpful and comforting to know. The other thing about February that you do notice is we do get a bit of interest in ISAs suddenly, you know, because as you know, with an ISA, you get the whole tax year to put some money into a tax saving vehicle, i.e. that's what an ISA is. But it's really only February and then slightly screamingly March that people, and certainly the banks and building societies, suddenly think, oh God, yes, ISAs. Oh, we should put some money in before the end of the tax year, And you do find that the banks and the building societies, certainly in the past, not so much recently, will start going, come on, put money into our cash ISA. It's fabulous. I think the last few years, even they admit that they are just pants. You know, they really are pants. Personally, I have never, ever opened a cash ISA because always, in my view, it's a waste of time because you need to use that nice tax saving for a stocks and shares ISA. But I'm very much in the minority. In fact, loads of people I've spoken to don't even know that a stocks and shares ISA exists.
Hello, I didn't know there was such a thing as a stocks and shares ISA. I've got an ISA, I think, because I just sort of thought, oh yeah, you're supposed to have one of those, aren't you?
Exactly.
And probably opened it in March. Did a little shopping around, found one that seemed to have a reasonable interest rate compared to the pitiful rate that I was getting on an instant savings thing. Put some money in it, haven't put my full amount in. But even then have looked at it and thought, actually, interest-wise, this is a bit rubbish. It's about 1.5% or something, which, yes, it's better than you'd get in stick it in the post office or something, but it's still not great. No,
it really isn't. And the thing is that the point of ISAs, and of course, you know, typical sort of government quite good idea, it's badly promoted, badly marketed. The point of it really is to be an addition to your pension, because as you know, we are pitifully poorly prepared for our retirements. We are putting nowhere near enough away into our pensions and other investments for our future. So the government, various governments over the last, you know, couple of decades at least, have thought, oh help, we're going to have to try and get people to put more money away. So that was the point of PEPs, TESAs, and, you know, they turned into ISAs. Basically, it's the government saying, please put some more money away for your future. And the thing is, for long-term investments, cash, in other words, savings accounts, bank accounts, have always been bad, or they've never really kept up with inflation. Whereas stocks and shares, although that goes up and down, you know, on a daily basis, over time, stocks and shares tend to return at least 6 or 7% a year. That's on average.
When you say a stocks and shares ISA, I think the thing that will put a lot of people off is you would then think, well, I don't know how to pick shares.
Quite.
I have no idea. If I buy something, almost certainly it will then plummet. I will turn the television on the next day. I would probably have gone, I'll buy some shares in Volkswagen. That's a secure, reliable company, you know, the day before the emissions scandal happened or something. And so it is, if you're a casual kind of saver, it's a world you don't belong in.
Well, totally. And I think that is exactly the way most of us feel, because apart from anything else, as you say, the only time you hear really about the stock market, apart from that bit at the end of the news that nobody understands because the FTSE is up by 6 points or whatever, the only time they ever really talk about it is when there's some vertiginous crash and everyone talks about billions being wiped off pension funds, etc. But actually, investing in the stock market can be quite simple. You don't have to invest in individual shares, which, as you say, is a minefield. It can be. You really need to know what you're doing for that. You can instead invest in stock market funds. So that's like a bag of shares. They might have 100 or 200 different companies in that fund. Could have even more of that. And so that's frankly what I do. You might not make as much money with the funds as you would with an individual share if you manage to put money into a company that does phenomenally well. But you're less likely also to lose a load of money. It's all sort of, the risk is spread about. So there are two ways of investing in funds. You can either invest in what's called a managed fund run by the boys in the city with the red braces who need a new Porsche Boxster every Christmas and, have to have their Bollinger and everything. Or you can use what's called a passively managed fund. So an index tracking fund, which is just run by a computer, basically. It's an algorithm, and computers don't need a new Porsche Boxster every Christmas, and they certainly don't need Bollinger. So the funds, these passively run funds, tend to be quite a lot cheaper than the actively managed ones, because the actively managed, they'll charge you a fee, as will the passively managed ones, and they take their money out before they put the rest of it into the investment. And as it happens, these actively managed funds that are run by, frankly, very clever people and who work hard, tend to underperform the stock market generally 85% of the time. So frankly, you might as well, in my view, on the whole, you might as well invest in an index tracking fund run by a computer, and all you do is you ring up one of the companies that does them. There are various companies like Legal and General, Fidelity, Virgin, Scottish Widows, those sort of ones. We've got articles on MoneyMagpie that explain it, and you can ring them up and go, I'd like to put some money in a FTSE 100 index tracker, and I'd like it wrapped in an ISA, please. So they go, yeah, go on, give me your credit card details, and pretty much there you are.
I can't remember which budget it was. I think it might have been the first budget last year. There was a change in the taxation of interest and savings.
Yes.
And if the big advantage of an ISA is that it allows you to save money without you paying tax on your interest, why would I need an ISA in that case?
Well, absolutely. I frankly, you won't. Because I think it's £1,000 of interest, but then, when you think really, interest rates, you're lucky if you get 1%. You'd have to have 100 grand in there to make even 1,000. So, yeah, I think that this is actually another very good argument for putting your money into stocks and shares ISAs to build it up properly for the future. But any savings that you've got, well, effectively, you've got another ISA there as well.
They're effectively now tax-free anyway.
Totally.
So
yes, they're going to be. Absolutely. It's quite a clever one, in a way, from Osborne, because it looks like he's being massively generous. Like, you could have up to 100 grand in tax-free. But then when you see how little interest is getting and how little tax the revenue is giving up by doing that, pretty clever, really. Good PR.
Cheap
not much
giveaway.
cost. Yes, I think very much a cheap giveaway.
You've had an email from Eddie the Eagle.
Yeah, wasn't that nice? Do you remember Eddie the Eagle? I looked at this, and now it's basically all about how to save on your insurance for your ski holiday, and this PR company's brought in Eddie the Eagle. I haven't heard from him for ages, but I thought, gosh, isn't it marvellous just how much that man has made out of failure, heroic failure? Do you remember the book?
It's nearly 30 years, I think. Was it the
Amazing.
88
yes.
Winter Olympics? That's a very long career to be built out of, with the best will in the world, not being very good at something.
Quite. Doesn't it show? I mean, it is impressive. This is, and I do say to people, one way to make money is to build up your own brand or create a brand outside of yourself that you then promote, and then you get paid for that brand. Who would have thought, really, that you could build that brand up on abject failure?
So he's hawking travel insurance
yes,
here, isn't
yes.
he, for people on winter holidays. So effectively what he's saying is, hapless Eddie the Eagle, the least successful professional winter sportsman in modern history, is warning you that there's every possibility of you shattering your thigh bone as you sail down the Alps. Mm-hmm. I can understand the logic behind it. But I think it's probably one of the reasons why I've always thought that winter sports holidays are really for other people.
Me too.
I like the idea, the après ski bit. Mm-hmm. You know, the wine and the food and the sitting in a little chalet, looking at the mountains. It's the ski bit that I don't quite see the point. It strikes me that that's a very, very dangerous thing to do. There's a reason, you know, why that's a sport that Eddie the Eagle and many other people find beyond them, is that it's very, very dangerous. Allotments.
Yes. Now, this is just one thing that I thought about for February. I tell you, because again, I've actually been interviewed just recently about allotments. Are they a good idea? Yes, is my resounding answer. And if only in my particular borough there were allotments, I'd go and, well, I was going to say I'd go and have one, but I'd probably go and put myself on the massively long list. Can you imagine a whole borough with no allotments at all? There's just no space in my borough, and I don't have a garden either. But I love the idea of allotments. I grew up with a big garden and my parents growing vegetables and fruit, so I know what vegetables and fruit should taste like.
Jeremy Corbyn's got an allotment.
That doesn't surprise me. And of course he's an Islington man. I bet they've got lots of allotments there,
I think there's a very long waiting list. There's a very, very long waiting list, and I mean it's probably someone's working up a challenge now, saying, "Well, he's too busy now to
Yes,
attend to the allotment." Though
absolutely.
Who knows how long he'll be that busy for? I am not. It's fair to say, your horny-handed son of the soil. It's not my world.
To be fair, nor am I, but I like the idea.
I also like the idea of sitting at home reading a book, drinking coffee, and buying vegetables. So obviously what I'm then going to do is go to the farmer's market, pay 10 times what I should do for a, let's be honest, sort of gnarly looking carrot. I can understand the peace that an allotment might give you if you were the kind of person who liked tilling or whatever it is people do on allotments.
If you're in an area where you have a nice big garden but you just don't have the time or energy or whatever to do it, you could then rent that out as allotments to neighbours, maybe either for money or for produce. It's not a bad idea, huh?
I could rent out maybe a box hanging off the side of my balcony if someone wanted to grow some chives or something. You never know, that might bring in £10 maybe.
It's all about high finance on our podcast, really, isn't
We've gone from stocks and shares ISAs to renting out corners of my balcony. Now, we mentioned in the last podcast your impending war on clutter.
Absolutely. As you know, March the 19th, Saturday, March the 19th, will be National Clear Your Clutter Day. And I have already started with some of mine. I've been reading Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Joy or something of Tidying Up. And she says that what you should do is go through all your things and only keep those things that give you joy. If they're not actually things that you have to have because they're useful. And it's not a bad way of doing it. You know, I've been going through books and thought, actually, that I don't need it, and that doesn't give me joy. Right, it's going to the charity shop, etc. And I do feel that in this country, we need to declutter ourselves in terms of things, in terms of our finances, in terms of our thoughts even. We need to declutter ourselves from a lot of, you know, the social media clutter, all this stuff that holds us down.
Is this similar to the mindfulness business that people keep talking about?
Oh, I do hope not. To be honest, the idea of mindfulness tends to make me fairly irritable. But certainly, just giving yourself some freedom, just getting rid of the burdens of stuff. You know, you have to put it somewhere. You have to build shelves. You have to sort of work through things to try and get to what you want. So my whole idea of this is to give people freedom and also, frankly, to improve their finances. Because for a start, if you've got a load of stuff that you're not using, you could be selling them, or you could be recycling them, you could be upcycling them for yourself, you could find other uses for them, or you could simply give them away to other people so they can have something good, or give them to the charity shop. That's we're recycling things that way so that other people can have it and charities can improve. I'd like to improve our finances as definitely this way, as well as improving our thinking.
So this is 19th of March.
19th of March.
So we can talk more about this next month as well. I have to get some cardboard boxes.
I'm afraid so, yes.
Yeah.
Cardboard, yes. 4-box method. I'll be talking about the 4-box method of absolutely decluttering and giving yourself some space and some light. We've also got competitions coming up again in MoneyMagpie. We did have some Clear Your Clutter competitions just after Christmas. We'll have some more. We will also have a free ebook, and on the day we'll be having a Google Plus Hangout and Periscope with lots of people who are good at decluttering and upcycling and selling antiques and just selling junk as well. All sorts of people who can help. This has been the Ask Jasmine Money podcast with Jasmine Birtles and Paul Osborne. You can hear this podcast on iTunes, on YouTube, and on the podcast page on MoneyMagpie.com. Remember to sign up to the free Money Magpie newsletter. Just click the box on the top right-hand corner of the site, and follow me on Twitter for more news at Jasmine, and Paul gives political commentary at Paul Osborne. Come back next month for bright ideas and more info on our national